We're going to go with 5 recommendations, and we're going to be explaining to you every single thing that you need to do in order for you to look like an absolute pro, simply using someone else's content. So let's go to tip number 1.
Tip number 1, make it short. Before we get too deep into this tip, I want to make sure you understand something. Fair use law is a creation of lawyers and the courts. YouTube uses it as a guideline for determining whether or not they take down a video or not. However, YouTube is not a court, it's a company, and in this area, its main motivating force is not to get sued. So as a result, you could do your best to comply with all the fair use law and maybe even have a court say, yeah, that's a fair use. But the bottom line is YouTube still takes it down, and that's because they're concerned about being sued in this area. So as a result, we have to be super careful. We have to comply with fair use doctrine to a T, otherwise we risk copyright strikes. And if you get 3 copyright strikes, your channel is down. So let's be real careful when we comply with these rules that we talk about today. As a lawyer, I've argued fair use law to YouTube until I'm blue in the face. They always punctuate the conversation with the response, oh yeah, how much does it cost for you to post your own videos on our website? I always go, ugh. So the copyrighted video or audio clips that you import into your YouTube videos, they've got to be short. Listen, there is no hard and fast rule for how long the clip should be. The shorter the better. 1 second, 2 second, even if you gotta go to 30 seconds, just make sure you're following the tips that we're gonna discuss today, and you'll be safe from YouTube copyright strikes.
Right now, if you take a video from someone else and you integrate it into what you're doing, it could be 1 second, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. There's not really a rule. As long as you can integrate it and put it in a different context or giving it context. Now, there's 2 secrets here that I think that you need to know. First of all, if you are reporting the news, that of course already gives it, a big fair use advantage. If you're using it for educational purposes, that also really helps getting the fair use advantage. Now, when you upload a video, they're going to tell you, well, YouTube is immediately going to tell you, you know what? This video has copyrighted material. And one of the things that you need to do is you need to make sure that you answer that complaint and you say, well, you know, my show is educational, my show is about news, and 95% of the times they tell you, well, you know what, you're fine. I mean, you can use it, not a problem. If they come back and tell you, you know what, I don't think that you can use it, then what you can use is just trim that bit on your video and then you will be fine. So don't be afraid of actually using someone else's content.
Yeah, and if you find that you've got a video that I mean, it's quite rare, but if you've got a video that's a challenge, then just get a still image and explain what the video was about, and then you'll be able to get away with it. And the simplest way of doing it is like we do. We talk about a video, we'll give you most of what's going to go on, apart from the actual meat of the sandwich. If we had to lose it, we could actually show that. We could show a video as it is and move on. Another way of doing it is actually show the video and talk over it. So it means that you're not actually hijacking the content and using it for yourself. So it doesn't get caught by the censors in the same way. You're just describing it and complimenting it and saying how useful it'd be for people to know what the explanation is. So there's lots of ways of generating really exciting content if you do come a cropper to that issue about the copyright and licensing it.
So let's go to tip number 2.
Tip number 2, comment or respond to the copyrighted work. The biggest mistake that I see on a daily basis is that YouTubers put in a copyrighted video clip or audio clip and then they don't comment on it or respond to it. They just let it sit there. There's that classic situation where there's a YouTuber and he's speaking to his girlfriend and then he splices in that clip from Casablanca. Here's looking at you, kid. Here's looking at you, kid. Wow, that was awesome. There's that other situation where there's YouTubers and they're fighting or they're arguing on camera and then they cut into that clip from Taxi Driver. Are you looking at me?
You talking to me? You talking to me?
No, sir, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to these beautiful folks. Now, would you kindly put your spring gun away? But in these examples, there is no comment, let alone a response, to the video clip or audio clip that these people are taking and putting in their own YouTube video. People, hear me. You have got to transform copyrighted work in order to qualify under fair use guidelines. Think about transformation of other people's art to avoid copyright strikes. This can be done by breaking down, commenting on, or responding to the clip you want to use, just like I did. It's pretty simple. Whatever you do, you've got to transform that copyrighted work into your own, and that way you'll avoid YouTube copyright strikes and you won't jeopardize your channel.
So basically, this is exactly what we are doing. This was a 9-minute clip from Ian, the copyright lawyer. Right now, what we are doing is we're separating every single bit, and we are also giving you our take on what he's saying. And then we are creating our own piece of content using also his piece of content. Does that make sense, Dave?
Absolutely. And what it does is it compliments him by saying that he's an expert on it. And it means that people want to keep watching us because it means we're bringing them content they hadn't heard of before. It might mean that you follow up by watching more stuff with him, or maybe you got enough from him at that point. And the content that we're creating, we're doing it deliberately so other people can then share it with others. I mean, one of the things is we show videos, which are always very interesting, but we also explain how it all comes together. Not everybody's going to want to watch me and Ernesto. I can't understand why. Because we are hot, but they still might want to actually see the clip and repurpose that instead. So there's lots of different ways of doing it. Think about your own way of doing it. Think about the clip, think about the content, think about your own delivery, and get better and smarter at being in competition with the clip. So you have to have people say, you know what, if I cut them out, it's not going to work so well because that clip doesn't really make that much sense. Let's put the two together, and that's great for your marketing.
Tip number 3.
Tip number 3. Use the clip out of context. So let's say your channel is all about fashion and you're reviewing this particular outfit that you think is ugly. So you compare it to what 80s hair bands used to wear. And then you cut in Sweet Child of Mine by Guns N' Roses. You are totally transforming the Guns N' Roses video clip. You know, the video was offered to show how cool Axl and company were, but you're using it as an example of uncool. You're taking it out of context, you're changing that video clip's meaning, you're transforming it, and therefore, you shouldn't be allowed to get a YouTube copyright strike.
Bow, bow, I'm dead, and I can sing high like that, and I can sing high. Jesus! Oh, whoa, whoa, sweet love of mine.
Brilliant.
If you take any piece of content, switch it or take it out of context, then you will be fine, which I think is just a great piece of advice. Next tip, we're going to go to tip number 4. And tip number 4 is also going to be very useful. Have a look.
Tip number 4, modify the original clip. There really are simple ways to create new art out of existing copyrighted art. You can make a mashup, a remix, or some sort of new expression of the copyrighted art. In my last video, I talked about the case of Carryow versus Prince. Click the card here to watch that video. You may remember in that case, Richard Prince added blue dots and a cutout guitar to an original photograph taken by Patrick Carryow. The court, in the later copyright infringement action, ruled that this was totally transformative and fell within fair use guidelines. You can do this too. You know, maybe not in the exact same manner, but check out this mashup between Ed Sheeran and Disturbed called The Shape of Sickness. You can watch the full video on this card here.
Drowning deep in my sea of loathing.
Totally transformative. Or check out this guy Dave Webb, who created an entirely new Seinfeld episode from deleted scenes, stand-up bits, and alternate takes. You can watch the full video by clicking the card here.
But I think to me the scariest thing in food is that expiration date on the milk.
Modifying the original art really does work. That Seinfeld episode we just saw, that's been up for 6 years without a takedown or a copyright strike. So yeah, it's gonna be more work for you. You can't just import a Seinfeld punchline into your video and call it a day. You're gonna have to transform it, but if you do, you'll be safe from YouTube copyright strikes.
So very interesting, because in a past life as a DJ, I remember when Rick James Super Freak was repurposed by MC Hammer as Can't Touch This. And Rick James tried to sue MC Hammer, and he couldn't do it because they said that it's a completely different song, which, let's be honest, it's exactly the same song. But what happened is, as this evolved, recently Marvin Gaye's estate sued Robin Thicke for Blurred Lines, which sounded like an original Marvin Gaye song, and won. Robin Thicke's song was a global hit for the entire year, played everywhere. The video was stunning. It launched him onto superstardom, but he ended up paying out $13 million to Marvin Gaye's estate, who didn't do anything to contribute to the song apart from be related to Marvin Gaye. So be very careful, because things are evolving all the time. Make sure what you're doing is adding art, but also, if you can, cross-reference it with what other people are doing to make sure you're on the right track.
There was just one thing that I wanted just to mention. You notice that he was doing, if you want to see this video, please look at this card. And if you want to see this other video, please look at this card. And if you want to see this other video, please look at that card. That is what YouTubers, which are professional, do. What are cards? There's two things that we haven't mentioned, and we have had in other episodes of Fast Forward. But the cards are basically you recommending your own videos so that you can actually create the binge watching effect in your YouTube channel, and that's just absolutely critical for you to understand. So how do you do that? Search for our videos and actually click here on this card, and you will see that we have a video showing you how to do that. Did you see how this is done? We are basically creating that effect, and I think that's super effective. So let's go to the very last tip, which is going to be tip number 5. Have a look.
Tip number 5, attribute the video or audio clip you're using to the original creators. A decent defense to a YouTube copyright strike, when used in combination to the tips we just discussed, is attribution. Attribution is simple. It's just citing to the original work of art in your description section in your YouTube video. It's really easy to do. I use the Modern Language Association format, which is this. You just put the name, title, website name, publisher, publication date, and the URL. If you copy this format and properly attribute the original creators of the art you're going to use, and you use the tips we previously discussed, then you will be protected from YouTube copyright strikes. Hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. You might even want to hit that bell and you'll be notified every Wednesday when a new Heart of the Matter video comes out. So now you're an expert on avoiding copyright strikes on YouTube.
So let's just get a couple of things which I think are very important. So if you're using someone else's content, please make sure that on the description of the video, you also give them the right there. That's also going to be protecting you. And also one of the things which I keep on mentioning, and you keep on seeing it, if you like all the information that we're showing us, please make sure to subscribe, make sure to like, make sure to comment, and make sure to ring the notification bell. You see, it's not that difficult to be a YouTuber. Even us, Generation X, or even you, Mr. Baby Boomer watching us there, you can definitely become a great and fantastic YouTuber. Thank you for watching.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you really enjoyed it, then make sure you watch one of these 2 videos afterwards. And Ernesto, why are you staring up the top of my head?
Dave, your hair is actually thinning out.
Well, if it is, it's about the only thing getting thin on this show.
Here on this side, we have some more amazing videos for you to watch.